begin at 7 p.m. via teleconference. As chairman of the Personnel Administrative Affairs Committee, I find that due to the state of emergency declared by the governor as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, in accordance with the governor's emergency order number 12, pursuant to Executive Order 2020-04, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to this meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, I am confirming that we are providing public access to the meeting by telephone with additional access possibilities by video or other electronic means. We are utilizing Zoom, and the meeting link can be found on the agenda as well as on the city's website. You can also join by telephone by dialing 1-929-205-6099, meeting ID 874-611-3616, and the passcode is 99999. The public may also view this meeting on Comcast Channel 16. We previously gave notice to the public of the necessary information for accessing the meeting through the public posting. Instructions have also been provided on the City of Nashville's website at www.nashua.gov and publicly noticed at City Hall and the National Public Library. If anyone has a problem accessing the meeting via phone or Channel 16, please call 603-821-2049 and they will help you connect. In the event the public is unable to access the meeting via the methods mentioned above, the meeting will be adjourned and rescheduled. Please note that all votes that are taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call vote. Let's start the meeting by taking a roll call attendance. When each member states their presence, please also state whether there is anyone in the room with you during this meeting, which is required under the right to know law. Alderwoman Kelly, would you please call the roll?
Thank you, Chairwoman Karen. Alderman Clemens.
Alderman Clemens is unable to join us this evening.
Thank you. Alderman Lopez.
I'm here, I think.
Are you alone?
Yes, I'm just having weird technical difficulties.
And can you hear us?
I can hear you, thank you.
Okay. I am here, I'm alone, and I can hear everyone. Alderman Cleaver.
Alderman Cleaver is unable to join us this evening.
And Alderman Karen.
I am here, I am alone, and I can hear everything.
We have 3 members present. I also will note that Alderman Wilshire is here. I know she can sub in if we need, but I think we have made quorum. And I see Mayor
Yes.
Johnson here as well.
Okay, thank you. All right, do we have any public comment this evening?
I don't
Do you see anything?
I do not.
Okay, so we will move on to communications.
There are none.
Okay, then we will get into interviews, please. Mayor Donchik?
Well, thank you, Madam Chair, and it's nice to be with you this evening. My first nomination is Justin Chapman for the Cable TV Advisory Board. I'm nominating Mr. Chapman because he, of course, has expressed an interest in the C-tab, we call it. Also, he has a very technical background. He currently works down in Burlington at a tech company and has worked in various technical positions if you look at his resume over the course of his career. So his skills are well suited to the Cable TV Advisory Board. Also, Madam Chair, he is a resident of Crown Hill. I'm sure you'll appreciate that. Therefore, of Ward 7. And I'm sure he will, given his interest, will be a significant addition to the board. And I will turn it over to Mr. Chapman to tell you a little bit about himself and tell us a little bit about his interest in the Cable TV Advisory Board.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Chapman?
Good evening, all. Thank you for the introduction, Mr. Mayor. I will say it's a pleasure to participate or potentially participate and join, given having recently completed the Nashua City University course that you led and participated in. And so that's why I'm putting my name forward for this advisory board. So if anyone has a question as to what led me to volunteer and participate, it's a result of participating in Nashua City University, which Mayor Donches, I believe, correct me, Mayor, this is the third year that you had run that program.
It might have been the fourth, but we've done. You were involved in the remote version.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so that's exactly what we're hoping for, that people learn more about city government and figure out where they might be interested and then volunteer to assist with one project or another.
So I guess in general, I guess in life, I do best with having folks, all of you fine folks on, if you have any thoughts or questions, and just addressing what's in your thought, as opposed to extemporaneously rambling and covering maybe a third of what you might be interested in, and then a third of, yeah, I didn't really need to know that, or it was nice to know that, but didn't really care. So if anyone has any thoughts or things that would be helpful to them, I'd love to share my thoughts in a direction that's more catered towards what folks are thinking versus. Okay, I see two hands, so I guess I'll go with.
Well, we'll take care of it.
No.
Both myself and Alderman Lopez have our hands up.
Okay, so we'll start with Alderman Lopez and then Alderman Kelly.
Thank you.
I was going to say you're being pretty efficient because we're all going to ask questions anyway, so you might as well just let us ask them and not try to anticipate them. And then more specifically, we don't end up getting twice as much time. For me, I was just curious with regards to the way the CTAB currently operates, what's your understanding of its purpose, and what are areas that you think we can do better with it, and opportunities that you see your experience playing into that?
Right now, I have little to no experience. All I understand is it's an advisory board my current understanding is that it's an advisory board catered specifically towards the sort of telecommunications area of Nashua. So I know that's an imperfect understanding. And ultimately it reviews the contracts that come up. And I believe there's some other information that gets discussed. And I'm just not fully aware of it. That's the part that I need to learn.
Are you all set, Alderman Lopez?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that's a pretty good answer. That I mean, being willing to learn and trying to explore new options. Part of the reason that the mayor interviews you first in order to nominate you is to make sure that you have experience and that you're a good fit for it. So I would probably, especially with a board like the CTAB, there's a lot of really experienced members there already. So learning from them is not going to hurt anybody. But bringing your own ideas and being honest about it is probably going to be very refreshing for it. So thank you for your service. I appreciate you stepping forward.
Thank you. Is it Mr. Lopez or Tom or
Alderman Lopez.
Thank you, Alderman Lopez.
Of course.
Alderman Kelly.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to ask a few questions. And I looked at your background and I'm excited to have you be a volunteer. I actually was interested in, sort of, you went through all of the different facets of the city. I was just wondering why this one stood out to you. Is it just your background, or did something happen in the academy that kind of got you excited about cable TV?
So I live. So you know where I live. You have my address. And one thing that sparked my interest after I had moved here and looked for internet service, uh, I noticed it was Comcast was pretty much the option. But before I moved, I had noticed that fiber was available. And I suspect, as you all are aware, fiber is very much about where your physical address is in relation to the switching office, or which office. And so I didn't, until I signed up and learned, oh, really, Nashua is covered, but the street I'm on and a couple of other streets, no, you're not covered. And so that's the part where I was thinking, when I called town hall, was like, hey, like what's going on? I called charter. I didn't get a straight answer. No one was dodging my questions. So for sure, like, it's not that anyone wasn't returning phone calls or anything, but I didn't get a, hey, the way that we're rolling out blah, blah, blah has to do with government funding and rolling out dark fiber in this approach. No one seemed to have an understanding of how fiber gets rolled out, and dark fiber is already in the ground. It's just not turned on. And so there seemed to be maybe not the nuanced understanding that just because it's in the ground, which is great, that Nashua has got lots of dark fiber, but that doesn't mean that there's dark fiber on my street. And so there seemed to not be that understanding as well. And so when I learned that this committee existed, I was like, wow, like, great, I could help and learn wherever there might be. But then honestly, it's one of those things where it's like, I can actually contribute to the town that I live in, because I've had great experiences just in what I will call some just basic services of paying my the property tax on my car. And then when there was an address error from the previous owners, I walked in, this was before COVID, walked in and they're like, oh yeah, we just had an error with the address and it's all taken care of. So my experiences with town hall thus far have been generally the opposite of what one would think, in the sense of sort of bureaucratic and slow. And so I was like, wow, if they have a way for someone to volunteer and contribute, then I'd like to do that. And I think, Alderman Kelly, to your point, technology is an area where it's a little bit easier for me to contribute. And so that's why this committee seemed to be appropriate. I think there was one other committee that seemed interesting, and this one had the opening first.
Alderman Karen, if I could follow up.
Yes, you may, Alderman Kelly.
Thank you. And that was a lovely, detailed response. What do you think in that same vein of citywide broadband?
I want to answer your question. Is your question about giving it away for free, making sure it's available? There's a couple different ways we could go with that. So,
well, tell me all your thoughts. It's definitely come up. Someone else who just recently interviewed for this position was talking about citywide broadband, and I think with COVID and school being remote, it definitely became an issue of have and have nots when you couldn't get the Wi-Fi availability.
Sure. So I'd say citywide. I'll start with we're in America and we're in New Hampshire, so I'll start with the capitalist answer, so libertarian answer first, which is, it would be lovely if there was a, I'll call it a public-private, right? I'll say public-private option for people who are visiting, transitioning meaning driving through / whatever, but just are not residents, don't live here. The ability to have access to quality, secure Wi-Fi, and by secure, I mean the person using that Wi-Fi does not need to worry about man-in-the-middle attacks or any other type of security threats. So knowing that it's a trusted offering. So that's one. And then I'd say call it a in software, there's this idea of donationware or shareware. Call it some other option that's, we'll say, um, more responsive uptime and downtime, where I'm making up a number because I have no research, right? So please bear with me. It's not grounded in reality number wise, but say something that say, hey, you're going to be visiting Nashua for 24 hours. Here's, for $10, have this great service that really supports you. There's pretty good 5G coverage already in Nashua, depending on who your provider is, but having Wi-Fi throughout all of Nashua and paying a modest amount, and then knowing, hey, you're supporting the town and any other sort of other programs, other Wi-Fi for folks who are needing it would be one way to go. So it's really sort of a donation to the town to support those people who are not able to have consistent access. Then secondly, I'd say for the people who are residents, being able, and this is the part where I'm just not as familiar with how the negotiations with, say, Consolidated works, but say, let's figure out how to get actual fiber to everyone. If I Justin wanted to have fiber for a quote unquote business I was running in my house, I can today call up Comcast for a business fiber line, pay, I believe it's $500 for them to lay down the fiber, and then another $500 as a fee. So call it $1,000. And then I get a Juniper router, I believe, or switch on my end, or sorry, gateway. And so 1,300 roughly all in, and then $300 a month, I can have fiber to my house. And the quality of service is fantastic because I've effectively got a business line to my house. And so is it possible for, we'll say to your point, to have an opt-in for those people who are able to have who are financially able, say a $500 option or something with Consolidated, to say, hey, let's run, McKean Street. I'll raise my hand and say, hey, I want in. So I think we'll call them tranches of options that you can have to make it available. People who are working from home, obviously, if you've got a house and you're not sort of traveling out and about, let's get the fiber, make that available in sort of different options. There's different speed options. Fiber as a whole you've got the ability to pump more or less what, gigabit speeds, but maybe that's not what they're doing. I don't know that is or isn't appropriate, but there are definitely different options that we can have to make it great. And I think reasonable funding options and opt-in shareware, donationware, so that it's not the public, it's not the government paying for it directly. It might be a sort of a reimbursement model where the government might need to get involved. That's the part that I'm just not educated well on, and how do we sort of take that first step? Sorry, that's a really long answer. My apologies.
I was just going to say thank you. I feel like I got more education out of that than I've known before. So you were obviously very interested and excited about it. So that was a great answer. Thank you.
Okay, all done, Alderwoman Kelly?
I am Alderman Karen.
Okay, is there anyone out there that still has questions for Mr. Chapman?
I don't see any hands up.
Okay, so Mr. Chapman, we really appreciate that you took the Mayor's University of the city and decided to join one of our committees, and listening to your answer that Alderwoman Kelly had asked you about shows that you're really enthusiastic about coming on board to the CTAB. So we will be voting on your position shortly, and we want to thank you again for volunteering.
Okay. Is the protocol that I just drop off now, or?
Yeah, you can stay on if you want, or you can drop off. Someone will notify you so that you can be sworn in after a Board of Aldermen meeting.
Okay, I will stay on and sort of learn how things go. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Mr. Mayor, you have Paul Shea up for. nomination to the
Is
Culture
Paul Shea
Commission.
present?
I don't see him on.
Oh, okay, I didn't,
I could at least speak to the nomination. You may want to interview him, but I mean, I've interviewed or I've nominated Paul Shea to the Cultural Connections Committee because obviously he's the executive director of Great American Downtown, and we're hoping to create a better connection between all of our ethnic communities and the downtown, both in terms of creating a greater diversity of business downtown, more businesses that cater to more people. And we just think that I think that helping to create the downtown Cultural Connections Committee interaction is helpful to everyone, benefits everyone. Now, that's my
Okay.
reason, but you may want to interview him and he's not here, so.
right. I think, Mayor, since he is a new appointment and we made several years ago the notion that any new appointments would have to come for an interview. So I will notify Donna Graham tomorrow and tell her that he didn't show and he has to be at our next meeting in June. But I appreciate you giving us a little background. Thank you.
Well, I understand, Madam Chair, and we'll try to get his attendance for the next meeting.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, well, thank you all for having me, and thank you, Mr. Chapman, for your willingness to help us with broadband.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Okay, we're now
Oh,
at
Paul just got on.
what?
Paul's on.
Oh, welcome, Mr. Shea. Can't hear him.
He's on mute right now. I think he's waiting to see if it's his time to speak or if we want to formally introduce him and do all that again.
Okay, did the mayor come back?
He's
I'm
still here.
still here. I did introduce and I at least discussed Paul's nomination to the Cultural Connections Committee, and so I will open, and I just for Mr. Shea's sake, I spoke about the importance of a connection between Great American Downtown and our various communities in Nashua and trying to strengthen the diversity of business downtown and of the attractiveness of downtown to everyone. So with that, I will turn you over to Mr. Shea, and he can, you know a little bit about him already, I'm sure, but he can talk about his interest in the committee.
Thank you very much. Mr. Shea.
Yeah, thank you so much. So my name's Paul Shea. I'm the executive director for Great American Downtown. I've been working with many of the city's cultural and arts organizations over the past 6 years in my role there. We are looking to build greater connections within our downtown and our programming and build inroads to Nashua's diverse community. It's been a pleasure to join the Cultural Connections Committee for the past few meetings and sit in on their conversations as they discuss what they do. I had the pleasure of sharing a bit about our work with them, and I'm really excited about the opportunity to continue to build that relationship. I would wholeheartedly agree that the diversity of our downtown and the extent to which people feel welcomed and have an open and positive experience interacting with one another is one of our strengths, and it's certainly something that we can continue to build upon, and it's part of what makes Nashua such a great city. I'm sorry I was running a little behind today. I am actually also a registered nurse. And I've taken a position on Saturday through Monday for a few months, helping with vaccination efforts. So I just got off of my shift. So I really appreciate the opportunity to be nominated to be a part of this committee, and look forward to continuing all of the good work that we do with a greater sense of inclusion and representation.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Shea. We appreciate it. So we'll open it up to questions from the committee.
I have one, Alderman Karen.
Certainly, Alderwoman Kelly.
Well, first I wanted to thank you. I was going to shout out that you were still in your scrubs, so I appreciate that, and I appreciate you hopping on.
Yeah.
My question is actually to the mayor. Are we adding a seat that is for the executive director of Greater Nashua Downtown, or is he just a community member being added to the committee?
We're not adding a seat, so he's just a nominee, someone who's going to be on the, that I'm proposing be on the committee.
Okay, perfect. That was my question. Paul,
Right.
I don't have a lot of questions. We know each other very well, and I know that you have a big heart for, cultural connectiveness in our city. So I appreciate your hard work, and I know you'll be a good person to be on this committee.
I think all you people should really grill Paul for,
I feel bad for him. He was just putting shots in arms all day. I'm not gonna grill him.
I will if anyone ever calls on me.
Oh,
Alderman
God,
Lopez.
Alderman Lopez, we'd never ignore you.
I didn't see your
Thank you.
hand. I'm sorry.
I can't believe that. Okay, but with regards to the Paul's background in healthcare, I think that automatically makes him a very helpful resource. I know a lot of the challenges that we've discussed in past Cultural Connections meetings is with regards to worldwide efforts to vaccinate. There's a lot of concern about India and other international communities that people in Nashua are connected to, and they're nowhere near the level of rapid vaccination that we're achieving, and they definitely don't have the same access to healthcare. So I think having Paul's knowledge on that and experience will be helpful in framing discussion in a lot of different areas. I think the fact that he's willing to step forward and do a little bit of extra work as a nurse and maintain that nurse's license through all of his time at Great American Downtown speaks to his dual passions. I happen to know that when he took over Great American Downtown, he came from being a registered nurse. So obviously a little bit of a pay grade difference, but he maintained that that certification because public health and healthcare are passionate. So I think that's a very good fit. I also wanted to point out that we have recently added additional representation to represent communities, such as deaf community and LGBTQ+. And Paul was instrumental in raising the first flag to raise Pride awareness and has been invaluable in helping organize Pride awareness. So I think he brings a lot of that good experience as well. And then finally, in terms of cultural literacy, Paul was with me on my first Honduras trip. I think I'm on like number 16 now. So Paul has a little catching up to do, but he's, from what I observed while he was in Honduras, he was very diligent about trying to learn the language, trying to learn the customs, and approaching it from a point of humility. So I think he's a great asset for the Cultural Connections Committee, and I look forward to seeing what he can do with it.
Thank you, Alderman Lopez. Anyone else?
Alderman Wilshire.
Oh, President Wilshire.
Thank you. Mr. Shea, good evening. Thank you. And thank you again. Thank you for stepping up to this committee. And, it's important to have someone like you on this committee because you are the kind of person that brings people together in a positive way. Whether it's having fun or not so much fun, you do it. So thank you for that. And, your willingness to step up. I'm sure you have a lot to do with a young family and a couple of jobs, but thank you for stepping up for this, Paul. I think you're perfect for this. So I don't really have any questions. I just want to say thanks, and thanks for vaccinating people.
Absolutely.
Okay. Anyone else?
Alderman Karen.
Yes, Alderman Karen, yes. Mr. Shea, first of all, I loved your outfit. I kept saying, he doesn't wear that every day to his job. So thank you so much for willing to participate in getting shots in arms. And I think that's wonderful of you. And I too know that when you step up to participate in something, you really put your heart and soul in it. I've seen it. I've watched you bring some great things to the Great American Downtown, which I worked closely with for a long time. So I think this is great. And you, like Alderman Wilshire said, you're going to be a great asset to this committee. I remember when this committee started, and Mayor, you have brought in diversified people to this committee, which is a good thing because the city has grown in leaps and bounds. So I think this is great, and we look forward to working with you, Paul, down the way. As I told Mr. Chapman, your nomination will be brought up later, and then you'll receive notice as to when to appear at a Board of Aldermen meeting so you can be sworn in. And now you can go home and rest and eat and get ready for another day.
Very good. I appreciate everyone's kind words and look forward to continuing our work together. I hope you all have a great night.
Thank you. Okay, so we're on to application to license hawkers, peddlers, vendors license.
There are none.
Okay, appointments by the mayor, Alderwoman Kelly.
I move to recommend the following confirmation new appointment to the Cable Television Advisory Committee, Justin Chapman, with a term to expire March 31st, 2024. And the following reappointment to the Cultural Connections Committee, Margaret Lorette, with a term to expire February 1st, 2024. And new appointment by Paul Shea with a term to expire April 1st, 2024. The following reappointment to the Nashua Arts Commission, Lindsay Rinaldi, with a term to expire April 1st, 2024, by roll call.
Okay, would you please call the roll?
Well, I wanted to make a comment, but then I will happily call the roll.
Sure, you may make a comment.
I just wanted to say that wasn't much of a grilling of Mr. Shea. But let's go
In
ahead.
fairness, what can you say about Paul Shea that hasn't already been said on the sounding board?
Very true. Very true. Okay. Alderman Karen.
Yes.
Alderman Clemens is here. Alderman Lopez. Did you accidentally get?
Yes,
There we go.
yes, and nothing happened.
And Alderwoman Kelly is a yes. You have 3 yeas.
Okay, that motion has carried, and the new appointments and reappointments have been approved. Unfinished business,
There is none.
new business resolutions,
None.
new business ordinances.
There are none.
Okay, public comment. Do we have
Hi.
anyone?
Yes,
Hello.
Lori Ortolano, can you hear me?
We can.
Yes,
Okay,
please state your name and address, please.
yes, Lori Ortolano, 41 Berkeley Street. I just wanted to address the group quickly and say that I do not support the appointment of Paul Shea to any committee in the city. I feel that he does not represent diversity in the way that we would want the city represented. He is too pocketed with the mayor. He runs a civic sounding board website that he frequently throws people off of and shuts them down if their opinions differ from his opinion. And I think it's a poor representation of the city that he doesn't recognize that differing opinions hold a value. I have watched many people get tossed out of there and comment that they don't go over there because he's so unwelcoming. And I just don't see this guy as the right guy to sit on any committee in the city and represent diversity. He gets his money from the mayor and the city. He's beholden to him. And when he thinks that someone expresses an opinion that's not behind the mayor, he shuts them down and tosses them. And we don't need more of that in Nashua. I did enjoy listening to Justin Chapman as a new appointment. I think he brings a lot to the table and he got him involved and he's refreshing, and that's what we need to see. But the same old guys lined up in the mayor's pocket to do his bidding is not what I want to see. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Anyone else?
I don't see any other members of the public here, Alderman Karen.
Okay, general discussion. Anyone?
Nope.
Okay, remarks by Alderman.
Alderman Lopez.
Yep. Well, so the Civic Sounding Board is Paul's creation, and it is on a private platform. And he does in fact actually administer it with other administrators as well. So he's not behind every possible decision. He just pretty much is targeted for that fact. So I just wanted to point out that because ironically, our public comment, anybody can come and make a comment and can be completely inaccurate, but they have the right to say it. Similarly inaccurate is he's not in the mayor's pocket. He's not paid by the mayor. If anybody takes a gander at Great American Downtown's typical year finances, which is available on GuideStar and is as their 501c3, most of their money is fundraised by their events and their activities. And that may be a little bit of a surprise to people because it wasn't really that way until Paul took over. And considerably expanded the development of the program. I'm not sure what 2020's years look like because 2020 crushed the event organizing industry as a whole. But what I do know is, again, Paul has found ways to help out with things like vaccinating people, with advocating for masks, with being an essential player to a lot of downtown businesses and making sure they were still in communication with the city over different kind of endeavors being taken place, still able to access support. I think his reputation probably stands for itself. So I will be moving forward despite Ms. Ortoliano's recommendation. I have seen him in a diverse setting, and I think he's going to be a very important resource for people on the Cultural Connections Committee. So again, ironically, public comment, you can say whatever you want, even if what you want to say is that you object to somebody because they ban people, while you're suggesting that we ban him. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Alderman Lopez. Anyone else? Okay, there is no need for a non-public session. So Alderwoman Kelly.
I move to adjourn by roll call.
Okay, motion is to adjourn. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman Karen.
Yes.
Alderman Lopez.
Yes.
Alderwoman Kelly is a yes, and you have 3 yeas.
Okay, motion carries. So this meeting is adjourned at 7:37 p.m.